kind of walk through some figures with the board.
You want to share that?
What's it trip on there?
I was gonna try to make copies and that didn't work out.
Did that? Sorry.
So it's just like this.
All right.
Is everybody too warm? Shut that down so we can hear.
Who moved to out of executive session?
It was Mark and Jess that did it. Okay, discussion resolutions.
I would like to make a motion to rescind the sergeant promotion made last night based on us doing it prior to promoting and consulting with the police chief.
So there's a motion on the floor to rescind a promotional appointment to sergeant. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Felicity. Is there any more discussion about this?
I would just like to pause on this until after we appoint a chief and then appoint a sergeant.
I disagree.
I agree with Scott. Wait till after the appointment of the chief.
All in favor?
Right.
Opposed?
Nay.
Carried. Opening the budget session. I'm so glad that we are doing this and starting early to understand the budget, to understand where we are in the budget. And hopefully we're going to get on top of this early and be able to start the budget before March. So if we can stay on top of where we're at, and Jada can kind of talk us through a few things. Let's gather the information tonight. We don't have to spend 3 hours here. Let's gather the information, ask Jada any questions, and we can move on from there. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
So I guess the first thing I'll go over is your cash. You do have a treasurer cash statement. I did show what we have in each fund, general water and sewer. You have a little over 4.3 million in the general. That's with, what you have in your savings account and in your CDs. Water fund has 1.575,350. Your sewer fund has 650,398. That's as of today. I took the revenues and I did a projection on the revenues, and I tend to be slightly conservative, but this is based on looking at, what we've received in the past, some of the items that we do come in, we know what the county is going to give us for sales tax. So I did another sheet based on estimated revenues to come in, and I put that at a little over, it's 1,750,397.
Second page of this.
Yes. And you'll see, next month when I update our budget sheets, I already factored in chips because that was a big payment this month. I know Jason's purchasing a large piece of equipment. So I did put in that I do expect us to get about another 200,000 from chips. For the ambulance revenue, I did take, we got 91,000 approximately this month. So I based it off this month of what we received. I've only been doing this a few years, but I've noticed trends in the ambulance revenue. Right now, it's hard to tell. Sometimes in the winter months, it does seem like we may get smaller deposits. So I based it off this last month and we'll see how things pan out there. Your property taxes that we've taken in, I show 226,991 remaining. And there's 1 month, just over 1 month left to collect before that goes over to the county.
And then whenever we don't collect the county, we add to the county will make us whole.
Correct.
The ad valorem charges that we're putting those bills out, were those added in here?
I only did general fund because I want to focus on general.
Okay,
I did not do a synopsis on water or sewer.
okay. So,
What? So projected additional revenue
Is me sitting down and looking at each account that we have left and trying to figure out what we're going to get remaining between now and the end of the year.
so if I add that to the 5 million that we've already received,
Correct.
I would get lost. Should I add that? That's not the 7 million that you have right here.
What's that?
That's not the 7 million.
Right, you have 7.305 is our total budget without,
It's just the budget. That's the budget.
that's the budget without, taking into consideration the cash carryover we put in.
which was 400,000.
Correct. That included, anticipating a payment for police retro for 2 years. It also included our technology grant, which was $7,857. And then there were some other items included.
So if I add what we've taken in with your projected through the end of the year, that brings us to 7,082 or 7,082,000 should be short budget.
Correct.
So that,
But you have to consider, I'm not sure how much chips.
about 200,000.
Correct.
Can you repeat that, what you just said, down, so I can process what you just said?
So if I add what Jada's projected to still collect with what we've collected so far, it's 7,082,000. And our budget revenue is 7,305,000. So the difference is a little over 200,000.
Shall we go on to the next? Any questions?
So I just want to make a comment. So in the past, when we saw things like this coming, that's when we would put spending freeze on for only essentials. And that usually happens around January. I think we waited until February last year. So as we monitor this, if it doesn't look any better, we will have to put an earlier spending freeze on. Correct? Am I thinking the right way?
Correct.
Okay.
And that leads me, unless anybody has any other questions on that, I looked at our major expenditures. You still have 8 months of healthcare. Social Security, I did not take time to figure out today. That would involve reviewing all the point ones. You have a big unknown with the police retro. You have all your debt service coming out. You have your retirement costs. I did an average of, I did a look back the last few months and we're spending about 75,000 on our contractual items. And then I do believe we're working on spending down that technology grant. So conservatively, and this is without social security and police retro, that puts your, expenditures in your major expenditures, 2,153,632. But again, that's without a few unknowns. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the things, we have to pay. We still have our retirement bill, we still have our debt service. I mean, our two retirement bills together are just under $1 million. So that's taking all that into consideration.
Can you go over those slower again? I was trying to write them down. 8 months of healthcare,
Yep, Social Security,
social security,
which is based on our point ones.
Yep.
Police retro,
right?
your debt service, retirement,
Yes.
operating costs in the point fours. And then I also included the technology grant, which I think we're working on spending down.
Should you give us something?
Those were my notes. Sorry.
Sorry. What's your total again?
2,153,632.
That's without Social Security and police retro.
Oh.
I did print out overtime sheets for the 3 departments.
$155,000 required.
And that is through this week.
32,000 in fees.
Jada, do you have figures showing how much we've spent in the point ones without overtime in the fire department so far at this point in time?
I didn't have
Fire
time.
ambulance.
I mean, you can look at, if you look at your budget to actual report from last month, it's just not gonna,
Yeah.
it's just not gonna include a couple weeks.
Okay.
I thought I made copies, but I guess I didn't.
Yeah.
So I can give you those figures.
Please, for fire and ambulance and.
Okay, so that's split up between 3 departments. So in your 1620.1, as of August 31st, you spent 105,189.19, leaving a balance of 217,454.81. Fire protection,
It's the number.
3410.1. 105, 189.04, it's the same amount,
Wow.
because it's both 20%.
Oh, okay.
So you have 217, 454.96. In your 4540.1, 315,567.37, leaving 552, 362.63. Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have.
No, you're all right.
What did I miss? And those are amounts that are as of the end of August. Anybody have any questions or?
We can move on.
Okay. So the other thing I wanted to point out, I printed out for everyone your Open Book New York. Um, The important thing for me to point out to all of you is our fund balance. And that's marked on the page with the yellow sticky. And you will see how it's, in 2020, it was a, 1.370835. We went as low as 558,516. And then last year we were at 1,015,436. The important thing to note about your fund balance, there is money that is assigned in there and you're not able to spend that. Right now, with all your, your property maintenance fund, your creative lights, your ambulance donations, electronics fund, those type of funds, $141,975.95 is committed, and that wouldn't be, you wouldn't be able to spend that. You are all aware that S&P Global did do a rating on us this year. They are monitoring the village. The goal is to increase our fund balance, and that's something we really need to work on. Your S&P Global is important for your bond rating when you're borrowing. So, I just want you to make you all aware of that.
So do they just come out and do that, or do we ask for that from S&P?
No, they do it.
They just do it.
Okay. And we hadn't had a rating done in a while, so I think it was 2017 maybe. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. So, I did, let you know a few websites that, as we look, I know we're gonna have probably one more quarter in before we start the budget, but, I would like you to all to look at our fiscal stress monitoring. The Open Books New York, I just gave you that. And then, there's information on local tax data. All those sites are important for us to kind of look to see where the village, stands. I know Margaret gave multi-year planning. That's also very important. There's a lot of needs in this village. I did distribute some of the thoughts from some of the departments on some of the things we're going to be needing. So we really need to start coming up with a multi-year plan. We all know we've got that water project hanging over us. Last I knew that was projected at around 40 million. So I don't know, I mean, don't quote me, but I do think costs have increased. So we had a study done, but I think the costs on that have gone up. So hopefully you can use some of those tools, as we start to look toward preparing for another budget. And I do hope that it's something we look to do early this year rather than waiting.
Not tonight, but what I would like to do is put together some dates for budget meetings ahead of time so that we can start doing the budget in January, February, March, and have dates. Would that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
I think that's all I
This
got.
is very nice. Thank you. Very organized, Jade. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jada.
You're welcome.
No, you worked on it all day.
I tried. Then I still missed some things. So
No, you didn't.
I'm trying to give you as much data as I can.
Thank you.
Oh, and the other thing that you can look at, I'm sorry I didn't bring copies, but on Open Book New York, you can also look at our property tax cap and our constitutional tax limit. Those are also really good tools.
Is there anything anyone would like to add to the discussion? Budget wise? Anything else?
Thank you, Jada, for putting it together.
You're welcome.
Our tax levy limit gone 900,000. 5 years.
Where did you see that?
Great.
On the-
I'm trying to report.
Okay, thank you.
we had the, yeah, 74% our tax levy limit, constitutional tax limit.
Yeah, did I make copies of that, Brave?
You did.
I didn't think I
I
did.
don't have it.
Oh, I thought. Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah, you got it
Oh,
right
here
here.
it is. We stuck to the overtime. Got it.
I didn't think I
I
gave
think
you
they
guys
have the
copies, but I did.
percentage.
Hmm?
So the 70, or is it 74? I thought it was gonna,
Yeah, I went down with that.
They give us a notice when we get to 80, don't they? When we get to 80%, they give us a notice.
They do.
So additional borrowings would affect that. Yeah.
what is the percentage we can borrow against? What was that? We went over that earlier.
Can you say it louder?
No, the percentage that we can borrow against, and what isn't water and sewer excluded from that?
I think sewer is.
Yes.
We don't have any figures in Dawn.
I do, and if I recall, our valuation rate did go down, but that isn't set in stone yet. She still is waiting on, went down slightly. And I think we were at 90%.
You just tell the board who Dawn is.
Oh, from real property.
So Jada, this is a start. What other information would be helpful? Is there anything that you said, oh, probably should have given the board this?
I mean, not that I can think of right now. I think it's important that, when we start, we're only through the first quarter, but after we get through the second one, I mean, we're really gonna have to start thinking about, like I said, multi-year planning, some of the needs of the departments, and I think that's very important.
That would be the, I think, we need to start. It's just sitting and brainstorming a list of things that, and then getting costs for, and then prioritizing them.
And I also think it's important to review your fund balance policy. Make sure that we're adhering to our policy.
Could you send it out?
With that,
Could you send it out?
I will.
What were you looking for, the fund balance policy?
Yes.
I have it open right here, I can send it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Jada, it doesn't have a date on it, the one I have, it just says Village of Medina Fund Balance Policy in accordance with GASB 54, I'm assuming that's the only one we have.
Sounds right to me.
Full policy yet? Take your time. There's small come out.
Is my daughter entertaining? I bet.
It's not a vaccine. Well, papers. Could you give me those fire department? Cause I can't find my, yes, thanks. Something about it for 5 seconds.
I'm watching them.
Yes, she just said.
The fund balance, yeah, the policy.
Oh,
It is, I do it
Yeah.
myself, yep.
It looks like they're at 32% of our fire department payroll. Right now.
Was that on the payroll side or with the,
Just the payroll,
not with the overtime figured in,
it's with everything.
32? If you, if you look at the trend and being back with the 16 now, if you go through the hours and, you know, with the guys being not fully trained from the academy, but if you take the week of August 1st off, the August 11th, you'll see where it's starting to blend a little better now because they're covering shifts instead of coming in for their orientation. And so if you look, if you look at their overtime reports for the fire department, we had, you know, if you take out, you know, Higgins retiring his, you know, so you look at those last weeks that he was actually on our payroll. If you look at the amount of overtime that was, you know, for him using vacation time and a couple other firemen that left, and then with the training of 4 guys, their orientation, their OSHA, you know, if you look at it now in the amount of hours, like you know, and I was just doing it in my head and just briefly making notes, you know, so they're not really anything to be shared. But if you look at it, it is coming down. And So that's one thing that I was looking at just for our information to see where we were, because now we're at 125 where we were up 180, so not
That's
gonna,
positive.
we would, because it would be as if we were, staffed back to the 16, but now with her leaving, and I was doing a few figures too, what overtime to benefits would cost and those numbers. And those, like I said, are just for my own personal, but you will see those numbers coming off. But if you specifically look at the police as well, when you go and look at that, where we are now, like historically, we're coming in now at like, the week of, in July, before like the first week of July, before July 4th, the week of July 4th, it upped on us for like 51 hours. But once, not now with someone leaving, but with Alex coming off in October, you could almost eliminate that 51 hours, the 53 hours, where it only looked like 13 hours over there, and not like, well, that was generated because we had a guy in the academy for 6 months and on road patrol for, I'm not a policeman, but I know it was a long time because we haven't got one patrol out of them yet. So that one should, well, it would have blended in our favor until the sheriff's department started poaching our officers. But the same way, if you look at it too, like, and I've been tracking that information from the fire department, the overtime as it was coming in the fills and, our appointments and when they came in. And then when we talked with Steve about how the training was rolled out for that to where we're, what we're doing now for training with them and getting them back, to be able to, be in the front of the ambulance. You'll see a decline there. And, but a lot of that, those initial weeks where it was, a lot of that was our chief. And if you look back at the chief dates back through here, you'll see he used a lot of vacation too. And like, so our lieutenant was doing a couple overnights, 24-hour shifts. So a lot of that overtime wasn't necessarily created by holes, but it was created by people that were leaving and just burned up their vacation before they left. That was a lot. Because I think this past week but in that 125 hours, like last week, you can, which is still burning up vacation, but we have Mike Young, which is a 40-hour spot there, and we may get reimbursed for that, I believe, from workers' comp. So if we did get reimbursement for them, it would go back into our fund that wouldn't necessarily, we did fill it with overtime, but it would be a reimbursement for some of that time.
Jacob, have we had any reimbursement for this time yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I don't believe so. I'll check in the morning.
So ideally, at this point, we should be at 25%. 2% is not.
It's scary, but I would say that 7% was contributed to. We would have been better off if the people were retiring, we would have paid their vacation out because we wouldn't have had the half time invested in that, but they chose to use their vacation time up, which indirectly left our fire department, short staffed. But if you look at but
The police department is the same thing, 32%.
yeah. And that will, but 32%, we're at 32%, but now we have someone else leaving, but at 10-man roster over there, one man makes up 10%. So Alex is going to fill a 10% role over there once he's cleared to be on patrol by himself. He's actually indirectly, we're covering one extra shift every day, 40 hours a week, because he's still on field training.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the times with the D line, maybe that something at the time since off. not filling
The D line, yeah, but
which helps you in the job.
But if Alex is on, there's always two guys on with him, where, no matter where, you know, that will, you know, so if he came on and the D line didn't happen, we would be at 3-4 hours overtime unless it's a layover or, you know, an incident that occurred just from what I'm looking at.
So I know just from in the PD trying, you know, for instance, this week it's big in the dark. So instead of putting on the entire shift, we're asking someone to stay over, come in, just to reduce the amount of time that's being incurred. So we don't have to post that entire shifts just to cover the events in the village.
But I know that it's minute. One thing that I looked at yesterday were the electric bills, which are gonna go up on the residential side, 25% and 30% on the commercial side. And we're typically spending between 6,000 and 8,000, 100,000 a year over at the water sewage treatment plant. So we're looking at a $25,000 increase over there moving forward with that.
So why is there, I guess I've never noticed how much overtime's incurred at the wastewater treatment plant.
It's because they have to work every weekend.
Right,
Yeah, so it's,
so that's what that is accounted for. I didn't look up the dates, I guess.
Yeah. has to be manned 7 days a week.
Okay. So the big thing is, if we could fill some holes in the department, both PD
Well,
and
to-
fire EMS with transfers, that would be just a bonus.
well, yeah, and like I said yesterday, you know, filling a hole with someone that isn't a uniformed fireman, it still creates it still creates a huge hole. I mean, the amount of to get them to fill that position, you know, especially on the police side, I mean, I don't know when we swore Alex in and he went to the academy, but he, you know, we've paid him for 7-8 months and he hasn't filled one hole yet.
Right. So we need to, looking down, Scott, you and I should sit down today, put in on this,
Mhm.
see, try to find a solution so that at least we're recouping something, or give out, you know, we talked about that, just giving out some bonuses for time spent, or something, if we could work with the unions and, you know, the people who are willing to stay with us and stay on, and we can make it work.
I mean, we had Tanner Ferris for 18 months and we didn't even get him to fill a shift for 8 months. We only had 10 months of service. We paid him for 18 months. I mean, when you look at how much he costs for each hole, I mean, not the, you know, just when you look at per shift to cover, yeah. Is there anything you saw that be alarming to you?
Be interesting to see what it is at 6 months, I guess. I mean, the overtime is alarming, but right now we're covering it with regular salaries. For now. It's not great, but.
No, so the halftime for the 163-hour week cost us $4,075 is what we paid because we paid the upfront money. Now, if it would have been employees, which 163 hours, say just like for figuratively speaking, 40 hours per person a week, it would be 4 employees, which is, let's just say $100,000. It would have been $8,000. So covering it with the manpower that we had, it cost us 4,000. If we hired 4 for those holes, which they weren't really holes, they were generated by people living or people, taking vacation, it would have came out to, right around, $2,000 a week per $100,000, figure, whatever, 104,000, 2,000. So it would have cost us 8,000 opposed to the 4 that it cost us in the overtime. If
So how much, have you figured out how much it's costing us to fill the 2 holes?
Yeah,
Complete overtime.
yes, it's
Is it
4. Yeah,
8,000?
because you only have to figure in so it'd be the 4,075. But if we covered it with personnel that we hired because of their loaded costs that come in, it would have been 8,000. If you figure that
Okay,
they're yeah.
I can't hear you.
52 weeks out of the year, 104,000. That's roughly what a firefighting would cost us. So that's $2,000 a week. So to fill that hole would have cost us $2,000, just one. But you would have had to go for 4 of them because it was 160 hours. So $8,000. Well, our overtime, because of it's just the half that we're paying, we would have had to pay the whole. The difference would be about $4,000. So is it the right way to do it? I don't know.
I don't
I'm
know,
just-
I've got to process everything.
Well, the benefits cost more than the whole. I mean, the whole just costs us the time and a half. The man costs us more than the hole's costing us to fill because that 50,000 is already built into them because they're already. Now, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong, but that's just how, that's how it is. I mean, every firefighter costs us $50,000 plus what they make.
So I'd like to get,
Minimum, and that's without training. If you figured in training for that, the academy and to get them there, it's thousands, it's 70,000 to get them to, what you're paying them benefits and to get them out the door as they're prepared to serve the community. It's 70, 80, maybe 90.
so I'd like to figure this and how many calls are being not due to that extent. A month. Try to get a trend for that.
Now, some of the call-ins could be prevented, some of the call-ins could be prevented with a 5th man during the day. If you look at the call volume that, Josh sent us over and what it actually, like I get there's a need for 5, but and I'm not going to speak of it because I don't want to be, the call volume speaks for itself. Like everybody has that data. You can look at it and when those calls are coming in. Do we sometimes at night need 5 people? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. But do we always? But the staff,
But there's no crystal ball.
no, none. So I'm not even gonna speak of that. There's definitely, if you look at these reports and the call volume that comes in, there's a need for 5 people at times, sometimes 6, like, overlapping calls from, and those are things that we're looking
So is there anything else anyone would like to discuss tonight? Or do you think that we have enough information to go and chew over and, can we meet again to discuss the budget?
I'm okay.
Jada? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, so a second? All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. We are